So start from the beginning. So my name is Reut, and I was about to start this lecture telling you who I am and everything, but at the moment what we need is to discuss what happened last night. Apparently people are in a bit of a down or depression. So in space entrepreneurships, there's win-win-lose situation. You can't hear me? Okay, so I need to hold it like this. Okay. So in space project, we have a win-win-lose situation, and I'm happy to say that Space Ale was a win-win situation, okay? What usually happens with commercial and private space project is either that it's like a startup, and then after a while it doesn't work. Oh, you want to join? So either it fails as a startup, or what happens abroad and also over here is that we see that a lot of these space-related startups, they move into the educational sector. And from my point of view, it's a win-win situation. So either you do a sustainable company and you have profits and you have your workers and you have a technology and you get to the moon, or worst case scenario, you have 1 million kids having inspiration and going into science, technology, mathematics, arts, and things like that. So there's no lose situation with Space Ale whatsoever. We actually reached the moon. Amazing. And today, for me, when I was looking in my closet what I'm going to wear, and then I saw this shirt because I was a volunteer for Space Ale for several years. I was like, okay, there's only one shirt to wear today. Only one. Amazing, amazing job. One of the things that you don't know and hasn't been announced in the news is actually the educational team of volunteers and workers in Space Ale with their amazing work. For 8 years, basically what Space Ale was doing, there was a small group of engineers who got us to the moon, and there were like hundreds of volunteers with 4 strong female leaders who made sure that every child from kindergarten to high school will hear about Israeli space and our journey to the moon. So it is an amazing accomplishment that within 8 years we got to 1 million kids. And those are also, from my point of view, the real heroines, the real heroic people and women of Space Ale, which I hope you will hear more about later. So good, we got to the moon. Now what we do next? Don't worry, I have ideas. It's okay. I was, yesterday night, I was at this TV studio, and it was an historical moment. I couldn't believe I had the privilege of to be like televised on a landing on the moon. It's unthinkable when you come from the United States and you have all those images in your head of landing on the moon with Neil Armstrong. And I'm there in the TV set. I was like, oh my God, my grandma, if she was alive, she would be over the roof, over the roof. So I was very happy about the event yesterday. I think it went very professional. It went very well, and we did an amazing job. Everybody did an amazing job. And it's going to continue, don't worry, we're working on it. I was born in Jerusalem. I grew up in Mevaseret Zion. At the time, the town didn't have a high school, so my high school is Boyer. Is anybody here from Boyer by any chance? No? Okay. So Boyer was my high school. My main extracurriculum was I was a trumpet player at the Jerusalem Municipality Youth Band, Lavi. I had the pleasure of actually performing in Epcot Center in Disneyland at 15, who knew? I was a swimmer at the YMCA Apoel for many, many, many years and swam at national competition level as well. Remember 5 days a week going to the YMCA, using the pool there, which is a beautiful pool. I don't know how many of you know the original YMCA pool, but it has this blue mosaic covering, and you go and it doesn't look at all like an Olympic professional pool these days. It was a great experience. It was 23 meters, by the way. So I got like really good time when I was doing my freestyle and butterfly, but never mind that. And then I was hiking a lot. I was in Chugei Sayarut al Shem Uri Maimon. And these 3 extracurriculum helped me a lot afterwards, actually, during my life. And you will see some of these themes reoccurring again. I was dancing a little bit as well, alongside doing all my high school things. So this is me. After high school, I went to the Intelligence Corp, to 8200 for 2 years. And after that, I went and worked for Checkpoint Software Technologies for 4 years, doing a lot of QA there, and doing interesting stuff overseas as well. And after that, I decided, okay, I want to go back to the academia. What is most interesting? Biology. Why? Because I can get to space to it. Okay. How do you connect between biology and space? So basically what happens is that for me, as a young girl growing up, I used to see Cosmos by Carl Sagan, and I was fascinated by science fiction, whether books, Asimov, Heinlein, Larry Niven, Star Trek, Star Wars, the works. I'm a complete geek, it's okay. I don't speak Klingon, don't try that. There was a level there I didn't reach in geekdom, but I know it's there. I can start speaking Klingon maybe when I'm old and I need a new language. So sorry about that. And I always wanted to reach space. It's an interesting thing. Space is a reoccurring theme in my lifetime, throughout my life. And I constantly was thinking about how can I reach space? How can I reach space? How can I be integrated into things happening in space? I'm not one of the countries that train astronauts. There's no way for me physically getting to space. I wasn't that good at physics and mathematics, okay? So then I decided, okay, there are 2 points. Either I do other sciences which are related to space, or I work on the physiology and medical problems of astronauts. So I decided to go into the biology of things and say, okay, maybe we should learn something about biology. We can use genetic engineering. We can grow stuff. I can look for life elsewhere. And this was like sort of my decision around high school, right? Around high school. But even though I knew this was my general idea, I didn't straight away went into the academy. I let life teach me lessons, okay? And this back and forth of what you have in your mind and what life actually brings you, it's a very intricate dance and it's very interesting, and I learned a lot. And what I want to talk about today is about exploration, which seems to be my main theme in life as well, and it's very much related today to space exploration. So in order for you to join my exploration, this is from an I Spy book. I have the whole series. In these books, you have to find things, follow the clues that are written here. Let's see if this works. Yep. So I want you to join me in finding these clues. I don't know how much you can see the details because you're a bit far away, perhaps. I'll help you. And this is about exploring and finding things, right? This is fun. So if you follow the wording, I spy 2 funnels, a flashlight, a cart, an ice cream scoop, a magnet, and the word start. So please, where are the 2 funnels? Raise your hand and maybe we can find together. Where in this picture are 2 funnels, 2 metal funnels? You can find the other stuff as well. Just raise your hand if you find anything. If you find the flashlight, if you find the cart, if you find the ice cream scoop. I see someone over there. Yeah. You lady?
On your right-hand side.
Yeah.
No, the left one.
Yeah.
The right, on the right. Yeah, this one. It's upside down. It's vegetables funnels, I think.
Okay, so at the moment, no, that's not the funnel, but nice try. Anybody else? Yes, over there.
An ice cream scoop.
Ice cream scoop. Where?
Where's your to the left?
To the left.
And down?
Down.
There you go. That.
This one? No.
No. It's on the side.
It's on the
handle. The handle is on the side with
This one. This is the ice cream scoop. Okay, this is the ice cream. The funnel, there is one over here, which is very hard to spot up here. It's upside down. There's another funnel here, which is very nice. Where's the cart? Does anybody see the cart with the number 1 on it? That's a big hint. Yes, please.
On the right?
Yeah. Over here. So it's upside down, actually. It's sort of like vertical. So we'll do a few more just to get you into the mood of things. So there's 6 safety pins, a man on the run, a plane, and the numbers from 10 to 1. So who sees the man on the run? Yeah, sorry.
Yes, you are right under the sun.
Yeah. He's running. So there's 6 safety planes. We're not going to go that. There's an airplane. Where was that airplane? I remember it. Where was it? This one. That's a very nice airplane. So it's okay. It's because of the lighting area and because of the resolution of the picture. But basically what I like to use here is how fun it is for us to go into a game which is about exploration. It's very basic to our nature. We love to do that. It's a very intuitive kind of thing. There's nothing to be worried about. This is a very nice philosopher I like to quote. His name is Daryl Calkins. And he says this thing about exploration. It's in the exploration and practice that discovery and evolution happen, beyond the reading, analysis, and understanding of ideas. And I'm a great believer in practice. It's not until you get your feet wet, your heart pumping, your frustration building up with all the muscles with it and the hard breathing that you really go into the discovery zone. And you really have to go the extra mile for it. And for me, exploration is about true, passionate curiosity. I'm very, very passionate about space exploration. This is something I can truthfully say about myself. It's 100% absolutely true, no matter what the reality is. I'm truly passionate and I'm very curious. So once you find in your life one thing that you are truly passionate, curious about it, that's what you should go for exploration. So there's a lot of different types of exploring. You can explore oneself, you can explore the environment. I'm a scientist, I employ specific scientific methodologies. But for a very long time as well, I go for self-exploring. I like to do stuff and understand more about myself, what is my own limitations. And one of the things I've been doing in 2016 is that I was going to this course by a great teacher called Natalie Dvir. I was doing, I should have said before, I did my PhD in Australia, okay? I did my undergrad studies in Tel Aviv University. I finished around 2005, 2006. At the end of 2006, I went to Australia. I decided, wow, this is a great place to do astrobiology studies and get my master's degree and PhD. And the first thing in the orientation courses that they gave to students in UNSW, they said, PhD is a very lonely journey. Find friends, find something nice to do, to uplift you. It's a very lonely journey. It was like, oh my God, what did I do? So I decided to go into dancing, and I learned a lot about belly dancing in Australia. Australia, specifically Sydney, lots of immigrants. Come on, we have people there from Turkey, from Lebanon, from Egypt, from Greece, from Syria, from Egypt, from everywhere, from Israel, from everywhere. And I learned a lot of things about belly dancing, and I really took into it, and that became sort of my creative, non-science side. And when I came back to Israel, I decided I continue belly dancing. I find this amazing, amazing teacher called Natalie Dvir, a heck of a dancer, and really a force to reckon with. And she said, Reut, you need to come to my course. We're doing, how did she call it? Stage improvisation, and at the end of the year, you and a group of winners you're gonna put on a show. I was like, really? Okay, let's do this. And it was like 8 p.m. once a week, and I was very tired. I had a little girl and all the stuff happening. But at the end, I had this. I came up with this, and we put up a show. And that was the peak of my creation, really, really creative side. I was very proud of it. And I've never, ever shown it before outside of my own family. So be kind. So, yes, thank you very much. I reached my limit when I was doing that dance. There were a few, because I worked on it for a year, I did many, many rehearsals. When I see it now, I see all the bumps and the mistakes that I did. I reached my limit because I was on stage. I was completely, if you can say, naked. I was doing my own thing with my own choreography to a crowd of about, I don't know, 70 people. It was a very tiny crowd. But I reached my limitation, and that's when you see the cracks coming. That's when people say you have to fail in order to understand how to succeed. This is how I relate to it. I say, I reached my limit. This is good stuff. I know how I'm going to fix it if I need to. I know how it feels in my body, in my muscle, in my tone, in my breathing. And it's a very good experience, and I encourage you to try something like that once in a while and be terrified. So, why search for life? So I'm a scientist. I love space exploration. I love a very specific kind of space exploration. I like to search life elsewhere. So who here thinks why we should search for life elsewhere? Most basic reasons, please. Yes?
It will bring world peace.
It will bring world peace. Wow. Batuah. Okay, excellent. More, please. Yes?
It should check if we may sustain ourselves in that place.
Hold on. It should check. This is not.
No. Okay, never mind.
We're good. I'm sorry. There's like, ooh. We should, again, please.
Check whether it could sustain ourselves in that place. Basically.
Yeah, checking how we can sustain ourselves in elsewhere is always a really good question for us as a human species. Whether we can be sustainable and live and survive in someplace else, which is not necessarily Earth. Why else should we search for life? Very big, yeah.
Maybe if we want to check that our atomic bombs can go to this life and walk openly.
And what openly?
Our atomic bombs.
Our atomic bombs.
Check whether they walk openly.
To check our weapons. That's an engineering point of view. Yes, please.
To understand life better.
To understand life better. So all these reasons are, is anybody else? I think I saw a hand, no? We're good? Okay, so all these reasons are really, really good reasons. When I do these public lectures from time to time, I go straight to the jugular and I go, the most practical reason to go to search for life is because the best defense is offense, and you want to get more medicine. And you want to know what's out there that might harm you. People somehow relate to that issue of finding more medicine. We're actually using a lot of bacteria and life forms and microorganisms in basically every aspect of our life and also in our bodies. So for instance, of course, we use yeast for bread and for beer, and we use a lot of pigments and for UV screening and things like that we put into commercial. A lot of the creams that we use are derived from products that we get from bacteria that we mass produce. Penicillin, medicine, antibiotics is in a big major crisis these days. So we live very nicely with microbes. There's a lot going on about what our gut microbiota is responsible for and how we work with that. So exploration into the search of life, the most practical reasons ever is because we use them. We like life, we use it in our own lives. Aside from the philosophical point of view, in understanding a role in life. Astrobiology, which is my chosen profession, is actually a multidisciplinary area of science. The word astrobiology came into being in the 1990s. Before that, we had words like xenobiology and exobiology. But astrobiology is inclusive of all these things together, and these are the different topics that people who in the astrobiology are now searching. So we're looking at the origin of life on planet Earth or elsewhere. What was the first molecule, origin of life in that aspect. We tie it into our physical world, atomic, compositions of things and things like that. Where can we find life is something that I really, really like to search. I go for extreme environments. I work on hot springs, which are slightly radioactive. I worked on stromatolites, which are connected to origin of life. And by learning all these things, we learn much more about our own world, about our own evolution, and also what could happen basically on other planets. So for instance, if I know the beginning of life on planet Earth started, let's say, only 500 million years after the planet was formed, I can go and make a really good assumptions about Mars, okay? Or about other rocky planets that might have life. And if I go and I practice how to search for life, whether it's in ancient rocks or in the depth of the ocean, I can then use these techniques in order to look at rocks in different places or go to really, really deep oceans like we know one which is on Europa, one of Jupiter's moon. So this is a multidisciplinary area of research. It's fascinating. The people who work on it are absolutely brilliant. And the other exploration, space exploration, is why should we go to the moon?
Why not?
So I think I sort of convinced you why we should look for life. It's fun, it's explorative, it helps us to make better medicine, it helps us to understand where we are in the universe. But why specifically go to the moon? Yes, please.
I think it's a romantic wish with a lot of love songs where that I bring you to the moon to you or something.
Yeah, I agree. It's like a cultural thing. We see it so many times in our history, in our written history, and in movies and whatever. Everybody's so romantic about the moon. It's a wish of our collective being. Why should we go to the moon? I like that answer a lot, yes. כן, בטח. Yes, so he said it's a good starting place to even further, to even longer journeys, whether it's to Mars or other things. That's exactly the topic why they're now talking about a new Gateway space station that will orbit the moon. It's called the Gateway. It's a big project. Yes, please.
לחפש חומרים, מחצבים שאולי לא קיימים או שבכמות גדולה יותר.
Yeah, so for instance, rare earth elements. So he was saying we can find more materials and composites and things that are not common on planet Earth, and we can harvest them and bring them back or use them over there. Everything, that's exactly, that's a really good reason to go to the moon. And one of the greatest Western scientists, an astrophysicist called Carl Sagan, which probably most of you recognize, said many, many wonderful things. And one of the things he said is that we live in a vast and awesome universe in which daily suns and worlds are destroyed, where humanity clings. You think that one works? That one works? Okay, thank you. Where humanity clings to an obscure clod of rock. The significance of our lives and our fragile realm derives from our own wisdom and courage. Wonderful words, absolutely wonderful words. So the significance of our lives is about doing these courageous things and going to the moon, because we are born in this system. There is a connection between what brings us significance and what defines us to where we were born. And we're not born just in Jerusalem. We were born on planet Earth, and planet Earth is part of a solar system, and the solar system is part of a universe. And it's an amazing universe. So we should totally start going out. And as we do great exploration on planet Earth, we should do great exploration elsewhere. So what exploration needs, in my opinion? It needs a certain amount of trust, okay? Which means you have to trust your abilities to do the step to go and do the exploration, whether it's self-exploring or environmental. And you have to trust in your mind that there's something to explore, right? That there is something out there that is worth exploring. It's worth your time. A lot of matter of place. There's a lot of playfulness, and I know some topics here, some lectures here talk about playfulness. When you go and explore, it's not necessarily, a Death Star approach. Some of my scientist fellow would disagree, but basically there's a lot of playfulness in exploration, especially in biology, especially things connected to the living things on planet Earth, the ecologies, the life forms, everything. There's a lot of playfulness in nature that you should go with an open mind to go and see what's there to play with when you go and explore. You need to have a certain amount of clarity, I found. So I have these infinite possibilities to go and explore when I go to a certain lake. And I have to come with a clear motive and a clear frame in order to narrow down my possibilities. Still being playfulness, still being very explorative, but you have to be clear where you're going to go or how you're going to make it. Curiosity is, like I said, true passionate curiosity is a basic element and comes also from a lot of positive attitude. You need to have some sort of a self-confidence that there is a point in doing this. There is something out there. Let's be positive about it. Let's go out and check what's out there. Is anybody here want to add to what else exploration might need, please? Anyone have an idea? Please feel free to join in. Bravery, courage. I agree. Breakfast, yes, I work with my tummy. Yes, no, that's brilliant.
I think breakfast is important, but I meant practice because you have to sometimes.
Breakfast and practice. You're on a roll. You're on a roll. Yes.
This is the way we started today, and it was great. So.
Great. Thank you. Yes, please. קצת חוצפה. Can you try and that's a good word. And חוצפה ישראלית, 2 words. Okay. Can you even more try and when you say חוצפה, what's your association? מה את חושבת?
זה שילוב של כמה, בקונטקסט מסוים זה שילוב של כמה, זה גם העזה, זה גם להאמין בעצמך, זה גם yes we can, זה גם...
It's an attitude. It's an attitude, it's a self-confidence, it's being bold, not giving an F about other people, other people's opinions sometimes, or things like that. When I was in Australia, there was a big contrast between me and some of the Australians that I was working with because they come from a very British upbringing, and the whole system in Sydney is very, very British. So the tall poppy syndrome, and you have to follow the rules. I've never met, even in the United States, I've never met a community that went by the rules. And people there had absolutely zero flexibilities about the rules. It was a very interesting, and I learned how to adapt. Eventually you learn how to work with that.
You can add the flexibility also.
Flexibility, I agree. And the thing for me as a field microbiologist, flexibility is super, super important. It goes with the practice. So because you go into a new field or you're going into a new area, it's a lake, it's a mountain, it's a hot spring, it's beneath. So Shark Bay, where I used to work, there's a reason why it was called Shark Bay. And I would go into the water and work in the water where the sharks would come. So I had to sort of like check around what the local people said, whether the sharks are, hungry that time of year or not. But yeah, you have to be flexible. You have to make sure that perhaps you have the right tools, that you can work around. And if there's a problem, you need to work around it. Excellent. And all these come into fruitfulness, into space exploration, and I'll tell you in a minute how it is. So this is a very fun game that I do in almost every lecture that I give. And which of these pictures are from Mars? So I'm going to ask, is this picture from Mars? Raise your hand. Okay. Is this picture, do you think this picture is from Earth? Raise your hand. Okay. Is this picture from Earth? Raise your hand. Okay. Is this picture from Earth? Raise your hand. Okay. Is this picture from Mars? Okay. Is this picture from Earth? Mm-hmm. Is this picture from Mars? One said, okay, that's nice. I like bold, that's good. Is this picture from Earth? Okay, so I'm happy to say that you were wrong most of the times, which is fine. The only people who ever got this right, I'll tell you in a minute, because you're going to understand from where some of these pictures are and where of them not. So this picture is from Mars. This picture is from Machtesh Ramon. This picture is from Mars. This picture is from Mars. This picture is from the Negev. This picture is from Mars. And this picture is from Machtesh Ramon. And the only people who I got right most of the pictures were people from Machtesh Ramon when I was doing them the lecture, which is, I work there now, so that's no surprise. But this little test is a great thing because it makes you perfectly aware that here in tiny Israel we have a place that looks like Mars. So space exploration simulation on Earth are called analog mission. And in analog mission, and it's done by space agencies and by universities and by amateur, like the Mars Society and the Planetary Society. And what we do is that we mimic one or more conditions of a real space mission. So it could be microgravity. What you see here is people floating during a parabolic flight. So it could be an exploration on another planet space mission. It could be, oh, I'm just working on the International Space Station today, so I need to check my microgravity. It could be a research base on some place distant in the future or on the moon, and then you need to check, wait, what kind of food would be best for the astronaut? What is the psychology? What are the team dynamics? And you check all these things. A lot of technological and system integrations are being checked in analog missions. How do you perform simple tasks, let's say it like this, when you have to work in a completely different gravity? You know, do things bend the same way as they do on planet Earth? Nothing is trivial when you start working outside of planet Earth. And so that's what we do with Analog Mission. And this Desert Mars Analog Remote Station is a project I've been volunteering for the last about 2 years. In 2018, had the privilege of being a Ramanuut. And during a space simulation with DMARS in short, what happens, it happens once a year around February, March time in Machtesh Hamon. Everybody, we do a selection of people who volunteer to live for a few days inside this habitat. That's a story, you know? What happens here? How's the schedule? What do they do? When they go out, they can only go out in these specialized spacesuits that were designed in 2018 by Alon Livne. And this project is supported by the Israeli Space Agency and ICA Foundation, but they go outside only in spacesuits, which are about 13 kilos. They have a helmet. This is called a personal life support system. It has air, it has communication, it has the water. You go out each time to maybe 3-4 hours at the desert, which looks like Mars. And how do you communicate? How do you carry your tools? What happens? And you have limited supply of air, so you have to come back at time, right? So this is very, very interesting simulation. And it simulates a research station of astronauts on Mars. Of course, that's why we call it DMARS. And the beauty of it, it has a lot of beautiful angles. Remember when I was starting this conversation about win-win, lose situation of space projects? So this is a big win for science education at the moment in Israel. And we're trying to develop it to something much greater. One of the beautiful things is that it has a control room, which you have volunteers, usually in the Weizmann Institute, or this year we actually had it in the Google campus. And we're mimicking the delay in communication between planet Earth and Mars. So because the planets are so far, far away and light speed has its limits, so the communication delay in real life, in real universe laws, would be between 8 to 20 minutes for each signal between planet Earth and Mars. So if you did have astronauts on Mars and they would say, hello, and if there is an emergency, so when we mimic, so we took an average of 10-minute delay to each direction. It's an amazing experience to suddenly understand that you're isolated. So you're in a place that looks like Mars. You're in a very, I would call like a mid-fidelity space simulation, and you cannot call for help. I mean, we have emergencies here in Machtesh Ramot, but it's a completely different operation. So for instance, in the ISS, International Space Universe, in the International Space Station, it's really actually really close to planet Earth. It's orbiting on a relatively low Earth orbit. And if they have an issue, they just call, right? And they have a very tight schedule and everything, and they just call. That's not going to happen when we go to Mars. People are going to they might have a schedule, they will get everything, but it's going to be delayed, okay? So they're going to have to work very differently than what we know. This is an aerial footage taken by Oded Aronson, who is a great supporter of this endeavor. And it's an amazing, amazing experience, has a lot of, this habitat was designed by Alon Shikar, and it simulates today the main thought in putting something on Mars is that part of the spaceship that comes would be actually, deploying would be part of it, would actually be part of the building that the astronauts would live for a very long time unless they reach caves or things like that. So that's sort of like the idea behind it. Very interesting work by an architect. So we have a lot of creativity in designing and designers going into this project as well, not just me, science, or people with logistics. Solar panels, big issue on Mars. So about the science education, I want to show you a very brief moment from our first class that did in the Young Astronaut Academy, the Davidson Institute. So basically, this is super innovative. And a tiny group of high school students for about a year and a half, what we do with them is that we teach them a lot of things about space. Everybody wants to know about black holes, about ET, astrophysics, astronomy, and then we start and we adding stuff. So we add like space architecture, and we add space medicine, everything that happens to astronauts. And we do a lot of team building work because eventually the goal of this is that they do by themselves an analog mission, right? So they have to perform as a perfect team and do lots of stuff during their analog mission. And they're bound themselves. During the analog mission, there's no instructor with them. Nearby, yes, but not with them. So just notice how complex is the interaction here. Sorry about the noise. Yeah, pretty brave girls. So this is Iris, Shalev, Ben, and Asaf. Basically, the whole situation is that they need an assistant to wear the spacesuits on. They need to connect all their pipes, their communication devices. Everything needs to be checked up, and it's a beautiful teamwork. It's a beautiful teamwork. Iris, for some of the simulations, is also Commander Iris. This beautiful girl, and it was an amazing experience for them, and they keep on volunteering for DMARS. Sorry. So we have a lot of exploring the human potential in space. People ask me, oh, you can only probably have like, physics and scientists and people like air pilots and stuff, and I'm like, no. So this is indeed a physicist, this is an architect, this is a social worker, this is a teacher, this is a photographer, this is a biotech, private company. He's an agronome, she's a geologist, she's a musician, this is a professor at the Hebrew University, nuclear physicist, and this is me, an astrobiologist. And this is from last year. This year we even have even more variety. So, So the science of space exploration here. Lots of things that we learn about system integration, how to do science when I don't really have a lab. I don't really have electricity. I mean, I have electricity from the solar panels, but there are big issues with that. And we had some terrific team members this year to do really good about contamination issues, about microbiology issues. We ran psychological tests done with people, for instance, from Stanford University and from Italy and things like that. Great platform, okay, for science education and for science. Absolutely amazing. So let me finish with something very much that is in parallel and touches to the topic of exploration, is that it's spirituality, okay? Spirituality, when one finds it in a human being, is mainly a state of fascinated questioning. And I just love that quote. Fascinated questioning. You go and explore, and then you pause. You're fascinated. So thank you very much. I have here a short video by SpaceX about our future on Mars, but I think we don't have time, maybe? You want to do it? Okay. So SpaceX was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk. And in 2016, in the International Aeronautics Congress in Mexico, Guadalajara, he produced this film, this animation. It's his vision for the company to take people to Mars. And we're talking 100 people to Mars. And he wants to do it in 2025, and then he changes to 2029 and whatever. The beauty of it, this is all based on engineering work and engineering design. This is not an animator thinking what it would look like. It's based on hardcore data. So we see here the main rocket taking a spaceship outside, and then it will return to get more fuel, because the journey to Mars is a very long one and very hazardous. And together today with current chemical fuels, it's going to take between 6 to 9 months at least one way. During this time, astronauts or people will be exposed to a hell of a lot of radiation, cosmic radiation, UV radiation, charged particles, and it's a big, big issue actually. It's one of the main problems for long journeys. NASA was thinking about rockets landing back in the 60s in last centuries. They never done it. There was no need. When you have a rich country paying you $500 million per launch, that's a good deal. Why should I change it? Until Elon Musk came and said, this is a wrong idea, we should do it. And I think you should read his autobiography. There's some very interesting points there on how many times he failed before he got that right. And what did other people in the government, in the US Army, thought about it. This was never tested before. This hasn't been tested yet. This refueling, it might be reimagined again. But after that, we start our journey for Mars. This spaceship will reach about 100,000 kilometers per hour, 200 kilowatts of power from solar array, which is a used, known technology in space. That's how the space station is using it. They have their solar panels. And just as Bereshit said goodbye to planet Earth, this spaceship will go beyond and say goodbye to the moon as well. Just imagine the photos. And in the far, far future, Eliba de Elon Musk, we will start doing something called terraforming, which is completely undoable at the moment with current technologies, but that's his vision, and it's a beautiful vision. So thank you very much. You've been a wonderful crowd.